Okay. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Good.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Is Jeremy on yet? Do we know?
Oh yeah, he's on.
Okay. Do you want to start with NRCS's side?
I mean, I can if that's what you like.
Let's start there, if that's okay, if you're ready.
Okay. Sure, no problem. Hey everybody, this is Jeremy Keller with NRCS. I'm among other duties the state GIS specialist. Um, you probably know NRCS under our license with Esri, the company that makes all the GIS software. They are able to, or we're able to share our license with the districts for like-minded activities that we're doing, so we can get you that for free. There's some limitations on it. It's not like we can get you everything in the world. Basically, we can give you what we have access to, but it is free, so it's a big potential cost savings. In the past, this was kind of a haphazard process to get the license to you. It's gotten more refined with our reorganization into the FPAC organization. So there's more steps. I've done my best to simplify it and kind of streamline it for you. If I ever seem like I'm not being helpful enough, it's because I'm actually a forester that's got this as a collateral duty, so I can't work IT miracles for anyone. I'm more like a fellow traveler, so but I will do my best to help. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the document. This is what you should get if you're trying to get this license. It's like something I put together. I tried to write it in such a way that it was just the information you need to get the license you want. I do need specific things. It's not controlled by me. I'm not being precious. It's just that the people at the national level expect certain items, and I can't get you the license until I have those. So if you don't send them to me the first time, I'm going to keep bugging you until you give them to me, because I have to have that information. And don't try to do an end around and go to the national office directly, because they're just going to kick you back to me. Sorry, I'm your gatekeeper. So anyway, this document just steps you through the process, right? So I don't know, there's like 6 steps, and I just recently revised it because at the national level, they've added a step for us. They want to know now who is getting each license and who's going to use it specifically at your district. So it's not, I can't just give you, 5 licenses like we used to be able to. And I think it's because people were asking for large numbers, and so there were questions about how these were going out. So anyway, there's 2 software platforms available. One is ArcGIS Desktop, which is also known as ArcMap. That's the old one. That's the one that Toolkit ran on, and some of these legacy systems. It's not really supported anymore by Esri. It has a lot of problems. It loads very slowly. But at the same time, there's certain tools that only run on that legacy platform, notably the watershed delineation tool, which a lot of you, that's the only reason you're doing this, is to get that tool. So we don't really have a choice until it gets ported over to some other platform. So you'll have to use ArcMap. The other software platform is ArcGIS Pro. That's the current version. It runs much better, works in the Windows 10 and 11 environments really well, but you can't run some of those legacy applications. So we got a conundrum. Now you can have both of those softwares on the same machine. That's no problem. So they'll run concurrently. So if you want both, no problem at all. We'll get it for you. And you can use the legacy tools and start learning the new platform, whatever you want to do. That's fine. But you got to specify. I can't read your mind. So we got this process. The first step is you got to sign this agreement, right? So you get this. I don't know why they didn't just put it all on one page, because the signatures are on the back. It's kind of a dumb design, but I didn't make it. It came from National. So it's just an agreement that says you're not going to use the Esri software for any kind of nefarious purposes like human trafficking or something. You're going to use it for what it's for. And then you put your conservation district name here. and then somebody representing the district signs it, and then you get somebody from NRCS to sign it and date it. And that's just confirmation that, you understand this is for official use only, all that kind of thing. Which, if you know anything about legal documents, this is not notarized. You don't need a lawyer. You don't overthink this. It's just, it's just something to kind of remind you that it's for official use only. So don't worry. Just have someone from some competent person sign it, and then you can either get the DC to sign it on NRCS's behalf, or you can send it to me and I'll sign it. I don't care. I just need this. I can't do anything for you until I have it. So that's the first step. Then you got to tell me how many licenses you need for each of those two platforms. So if you want, 2 ArcMaps and 2 ArcPros, that's fine. Just let me know how many and which ones. And then to go with that, you got to specify the extensions. So extensions are like bonus features for these platforms. So certain tools won't work without certain extensions. And the one that everybody needs is Spatial Analyst, because that's what's needed to run the watershed tool. So I just automatically I'll get that for you. That's no problem. You don't have to ask for that one. There's a limited list of other extensions that are available through NRCS. So if you need to do some of the oddball tasks, that's fine. You can ask for them, but we have a limited pot of those nationally. So I would say if you don't need them, don't ask for them. They're, because if it's just going to sit there and not get used, you're just squatting on a license and not using it. So in this document, there's right here is the extensions section. There's a list of which ones are available, and then I got a link here to the descriptions so you can see what they are. I would say that 99% of the time, the only one you're going to need is Spatial Analyst. You're just going to complicate things if you start asking for the other ones. But it's nice if you ask for them up front, because then it'll just be part of the license you get for the main software. If you change your mind later and want to add one, that's fine, but you'll get a separate license. You'll have to kind of go through this whole process again. So just, take some time and read this and make sure you understand it, and then, and ask for what you actually need. This next step is like a new thing. This is the thing I was saying, where people were asking for a bunch of licenses at once, and so FPAC folks decided they wanted to know who was getting them, instead of handing them out without question. So I made this little handy chart that you can use to kind of organize your request. But it just, and 6 is not a limit or anything. I just ran out of space on the page. So, you can, and you don't have to use this specific form. I just need this information. So, give me a name of a staffer that's going to get it. Do you want desktop or ArcMap? And then which extensions? And then do you want Pro? And then which extensions do you want for that? And then here's a list of the actual extensions at the bottom that are available. Just put them in the box, or give me the same information in some other format. I don't really care, as long as I get the information. I don't care what it looks like, as long as I can read it. But I got to have it all. I don't know how much I can emphasize that, but if I don't have all these elements, I can't ask for your license. So we'll be waiting on that. And then once I have it, then it's usually I get it I either get it that day or the next day. It's pretty quick turnaround. But if I don't have all the info, I can't do that for you. While you're waiting on your license, you'll need to download and install the actual software itself if you don't already have it. This used to be a big hurdle for us before the FPAC merger, in that I would have to try to get you like a thumb drive with the software on it, and it was a big pain, and everybody hated it, especially me. But they have actually set up a public-facing like a cloud storage site that you can access, no problem. And it's got all the software on there. So you don't have to wait on me to get this. You could just go there, download it, and install it on your machines. And like I said up front, I'm not an IT person. So if you're having trouble with the installation, I mean, I can try to help you out with just my personal experience, but I'm a forester, not a network guy. So if you're running into weird issues, you're gonna have to call your IT department or call whoever does your IT support, because that's not gonna be, you're not gonna get a lot of help from me. You'll get sympathy though. I mean, I'll feel bad for you, but I can't fix computer issues. So yeah, so get the software. Here's some, graphic heavy instructions on how to get the 2 different platforms off of this site. Some of the specific numbers might have changed if the versions have gotten more advanced as they do over time. But there's the ArcMap, and then there's your Pro. And you just download these enormous files. Depending on your internet connection, you may have to do it overnight, and then install it. And then once I've got all that, you've got it set up, then we'll get you your license, which is going to come in an email as an attachment. And it's called, the file that's the license is called a provisioning file, and it has the .prvc extension. So it's like provisioning certificate or whatever. I don't know. Not a computer guy, but you'll get it. And as I understand it, it's pretty straightforward to activate the software once you have that in hand. The reason I say as I understand it is because I'm on a USDA machine, and they don't let us touch anything on the network side. They don't trust us, probably with good reason, because we're a bunch of knuckleheads who work with us. Yeah, so you'll get this, and then it's kind of on you to activate your software. But I think it's pretty straightforward. Most people don't have any trouble with it. Occasionally you will, but it's usually down to some network security issue on your county IT networks, not anything.
Good eye.
Oh, hello? Is that a question? Anybody? Hello? Crickets? Okay. So to help you in your quest to get Esri documents, I know that sometimes it helps to have a mnemonic or an acronym. So here it is. It's SNESI. I made this up myself. No extra charge. And that stands for, let's see. S is sign the agreement, and then I need the number of licenses. I need the extensions. I need the staff members that are going to use the licenses. Then you download the software, and then you get the email with the licenses. So remember, that's your key to success, SNESI. Not to be confused with the Loch Ness Monster, Nessie. So there's no mystery here. It's all very exciting. And unless there's any questions, that's all I've got.
I'll just add that Jeremy sent me these documents to share with y'all, but for some reason, every time I try and add it to the Teams meeting, it's giving me an error. So at a minimum, I'll get them shared out through the Federation.
I like the SNESI. It's a good way to remember it.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any questions. Someone appreciates the Nessie joke. Okay, so I will share my screen now if no one else has any questions about that. I can remember how to do it. All right. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
I can.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. Never know with technology. All right, so I'm just going to jump right in, just kind of go through a quick demo with ArcPro. Starting off, you'll kind of notice it looks a little bit more slick, less, I don't know, early 2000s than ArcMap is. I think what Amy said when we downloaded it on her computer is that it looks like we put our ArcMap into Word or some sort of Microsoft application. So, okay, so here is where you start. So differences between ArcMap and ArcPro when starting a project is in ArcMap, you're just creating one map. In ArcPro, you're creating a project. And within this project, you can have multiple maps and layouts all within it. So it acts more like a folder than it does just a plain map. So go ahead and get started. So I usually click the new map document. So this is going from a template. From here, you're going to give it a name and file location. For sake of time, I already have something open. So as you see, kind of looks like ArcMap in a Word document. One of the big differences is that when you open from the map button, it brings in a base map automatically. This existed in ArcMap before, but it usually was something you had to add later. It didn't come in automatically. So something I kind of like. It's less intimidating for someone opening for the first time. Over here in the table of contents, you can see that we've got the topographic map as well as hillshade. Up here is where these base maps live. So it'll load. You can see all the different options you have. A pretty useful one for a lot of people is the imagery. So if you don't have your tiles downloaded for a county, this can be pretty useful. I mean, it's not perfect imagery, but it's better than nothing if you don't have any sort of background imagery. Let's see. And here, I'm skipping through my notes here. One of the first things I like to do in a map is you make sure you set your coordinate system. That way everything is projected the same way, and that if you use any of your geoprocessing tools, they work properly. So you can right click on your map up here and go to properties, pretty much the same way as ArcMap, or you can double click it, well, maybe, and it's going to open up your properties. So here you would just go down to your coordinate system. This is very similar to ArcMap. So nice thing about it is it's got a search function. If you know what projection you need to use, you can search for it that way. A lot of people use the State Plane, Ohio projections, especially if you're using AutoCAD and surveying equipment. So I could do the NAD, or I can do Ohio, search it. And that's going to give me all the options within here to find an Ohio coordinate system. I personally like to save favorites. You can see them up here at the top already. So you would go in, if you want to save anything to a favorite, you go find it, you right click it and say add to favorites. So I highly recommend that. It'll save you some time. Okay, so I already set this coordinate system for today. Another big thing is adding data. So it's very similar to ArcMap. It's going to bring you in to your file system. For today, I'm going to add county boundaries. Well, apparently I have some counties missing in that one. I'm going to switch my base map so it looks a little better. Okay, so it's very similar to ArcMap in that aspect. There's another way to add data. You can go through the catalog. So if you don't have your catalog already open here on the side, you can go to, it will be in View, your View tab up here, and then you can either do Catalog View, which is going to open up a whole new window here, or you can do, I like the catalog pane personally, which is over here to the right. So now if you want to add data from here, you can pin a folder to your project, just kind of like when you tried to add data before in ArcMap, you had to make a folder connection. So you could do that, or it automatically makes a tab that connects to all your computer files. So you don't have to physically add it to your project. So go in here and we'll add rivers, which I like to drag them over. And if you didn't know that, you can drag files over. So next thing on my list, I'm trying to stay organized. I'm following lists here. So changing symbology, it's similar again. You can over here click on this and it's going to open up your pane symbology over here. Another way you can get to it is if you just click on the layer, you'll notice, so up here in the ribbon, if I click on the map, you'll see what tabs exist. If you click on a layer, you have more tabs. It's a dynamic ribbon, just like CAD is and Word and different applications are now. So if you go into feature layer, you can click on symbology and get there the same way. So another cool thing is I learned recently is you can change how it appears in your legend from here. So anyway, so I want to change the way it looks. We'll go in, there's a lot of sample things, but you can also flip to properties. We'll change the color here, blue since it's rivers. So very similar to ArcMap, it just functions a little bit more intuitively. I found that since I learned on ArcMap, you kind of learn where everything's hidden. You kind of have to unlearn that with ArcPro, which happens pretty quickly, honestly. That's probably the biggest challenge is unlearning what you learned in ArcMap, but all the functions are the same. They're just easier to find. Okay, another big thing is a lot of you probably have existing maps that you don't want to recreate. You don't have to. You can import them into ArcPro without having to recreate them at all. So we'll go to our Insert tab, Import Map. And this is a map that I created in ArcMap. It's an MXD file. And of course, it's going to take a second. So this is exactly what it looks like in ArcMap. It kept the same symbology and everything. So hopefully that gives everybody a deep breath that they don't have to recreate everything from scratch, especially if you have some pretty complicated maps you've been working on for years. So yeah. Another thing is the measuring tool. A lot of people use that. It is going to be on our map tab under here, measure tool. And a lot of times, if you're not sure where something is, there is a search command at the top and you can search where anything is. You know, we've got our recent things, our suggested things, but if you start typing it, it'll change. So like if you're looking for the clip tool or something, you know, it's easy to access that way. But back to the measure tool. It's very similar to ArcMap, just hidden in a different place. So some people have questions about what to choose in this box here, whether geodesic or planar. I usually use this one. I just keep it default. So this is basically measuring at a 2D aspect. So basically, if you were measuring on a map, a flat map, any of these other ones are going to be doing if you were measuring on a sphere or an ellipse. Then you go in and choose US feet. So if we wanted to measure between these. So very similar. What's another tool that everybody uses? Our drawing tools. So on the map tab, there is this option to add a geographic layer. So the nice thing about this is it creates all your drawing tools on a layer that you can turn on and off versus having to go back and delete them if you didn't want them to show up. So now that I have it selected, I have options up here. You go to your graphics tab and you can click here. Say I wanted to draw a line and I could draw whatever I wanted on here. So now, since it's on a layer, I can turn it on and off. There's a blue million options. You can manipulate the drawing within here. Geoprocessing. So sorry if I'm flying through this and you guys want to know more, you can jump in with questions. feel free to. I'm just kind of going through a list here of things that I know people use a lot and will probably have questions where it's hidden. So, all right. So on the geoprocessing, I'm one of those people that kind of just like flips through tabs to find what I need. So I like wrote down what tab everything actually is. So here is where all the tools are hidden. And it opens this geoprocessing tab here. Now, if you're used to finding everything like it was old school in ArcMap, if you click on toolboxes, you can go through the nested toolboxes, but it's really nice because you don't have to flip through all those to find it. You can type in what you want. So we'll do the clip tool. Okay, so everything kind of pops up over here on the side when you open it, which is kind of nice. So if you want to flip through here, you can flip back and forth between these tabs pretty easily. It's a nice functionality of Pro. So if we were doing the clip tool, so every time I have to look and see which one is it, which one's the cookie cutter and which one's the dough. Okay, so feature that will be clipped. So we're going to do these streams and we're going to clip it with this one. And I'll just leave that default. Otherwise, you would pick an actual location for this, but I'm just going to, for time's sake. Something that I love about Pro is when you clip things, it keeps the same symbology as the original. So you don't have to go back through and make sure that, oh, did it work? There we go. That you have to go back, it throws this random Easter egg color in there, or it's a solid fill or something that you'd have to go through and correct all the colors and line types and everything. It keeps it all the same, which I absolutely love. It makes things a lot faster. The clip tool is something I use a lot. So when it comes to editing, so if you have your attribute table, and you want to edit something, in ArcMap, you would have to turn on the editor. In ArcPro, it's automatically turned on unless you change a setting. Personally, since I learned old school, I have the setting turned on to where I have to turn on editing. And in order to do that, you are going to go to your project and you're going to go to options, to editing, and this is your magic little box. So if I didn't have this checked, I could just go in and click and edit a feature without turning editor on. Some people love that. I think it'd be fine now, but I was so used to turning it on and off that I just felt more comfortable with it having it on. So what that looks like is on the edit tab, there's this little pencil, and if I click it, I can now go in here and edit things. Now, if it's off, I can't select things to edit. Now, if you don't have that enabled, this little pencil won't be there. So that's kind of a important little trick. So I said that you can have multiple maps open in one space. So as you can see, I can flip through these different maps without having to open or change anything. They're all just tabs. So now if I want to add a layout, it's just going to add another tab here. So say I'm getting ready to make a map for printing. I would go here to insert, new layout. I'm going to pick my paper size. So now it's kind of confusing because it just has your blank sheet, but here's where you'll hit map tab and say, here are my 3 different maps that I have open. So it's asking which map do I want to be in my layout. So we'll pick this one, click and drag. We're gonna zoom to layer. And I'll turn off my background. So a good map should have a couple things on it. Traditionally, you have your north arrow, your scale bar, and your legend. So these are all included up here within the insert tab. So we'll pick a north arrow, click and drag, our scale bar, and the legend. The legend is something that's a little difficult. I think it was pretty difficult in ArcMap as well. It's something that you kind of just have to play around with in the settings and kind of just get used to. I don't have any magic wizardry or steps on how to make a perfect legend. But something that is really different is that it shows up, anything that's added to this layout actually shows up in the table of contents like it would a layer for your map. So here are my layers within my map, but then here's the legend, and it shows which layers are shown in the legend. So if I had added the streams to this one, that would be included in there, and I can turn it on and off, and you can see in the legend it's turning on and off there when I click it. So if you wanted to reorder the order of your layers within your legend, you would just click and drag them up and down here. So now if you want to change what your legend looks like, you can double click it and it's going to open your properties for your legend. This is kind of like, I think it was called Legend Wizard or something in ArcMap. I'm trying to remember what it's called. This basically is the same thing, but you don't have to walk through the steps in order for it to create a legend right away. You can change it after the fact. So if I didn't want the title showing, you uncheck this box, and you've got your symbol type, so you can change the font. So we'll pick Arial and size. We'll do size 11. Which made it smaller, but you get the point. There's a lot you can do within here. Another thing is there's a difference between changing what the whole legend looks like and what one item looks like. So here, like if you didn't want to, if it was something that had, you know, here, we'll go in for the sake of this. I'm going to do unique values, and we'll do it here. Okay, so you can see that there's like a million of these, but you didn't want it to say county boundaries at the top in your legend. Of course, this is like so small that you guys probably can't hardly see it. You can go in and change off like header if you wanted that off, or have the layer name showing but not the header. There's a lot you can do here. I won't spend 500 years warning you guys going through this. This is such a beautiful map. Okay. Now one really big difference between ArcMap and Pro is exporting maps. So if I want to print this, I would go up to the Share tab and export layout. So for this, we'll say it's a PDF. You can pick your file type, whatever you need it to be. You're going to pick your file location, wherever that needs to be. Now, the important part is after you pick your file location, you have to remember to hit export. I can't tell you how many times I thought I exported a map, but I forgot to hit the export button after I saved the file location. So keep that in mind. That's important. Now, if you're just wanting to export imagery for, say, a background in AutoCAD, you don't have to make a whole layout. You can go back to your map, and you would again go to the Share tab, or it's already open over here. So then you're going to do your JPEG, make your file location somewhere you're going to remember it, but then you're going to check this right world file. So that is what's going to make it georeferenced, so that when you bring it into AutoCAD, it's going to be in the right spot. Okay. Let me skim through my notes really quick. See what all I'm missing. I guess I went through that pretty quickly. Another thing is, as you can tell, this is some work with the watershed tool. So currently the watershed tool does not officially work in ArcPro, but we are working on alternatives, maybe a solution. We don't have an official answer to that yet, but hopefully here in the next couple months we will, fingers crossed. Yeah, so I know that was a lot in a really short amount of time. Went way faster than I thought it would. So if you guys have questions, you want me to show you something specific that you do, please spend that time now because we've got time.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I have several existing maps in ArcMap, and
Mhm.
I've created my own legend. I just
Mhm.
basically, put on there what I feel needs to be on there. I
Mhm.
draw in my own colors and everything using all the tools to do that. In my existing maps, is that still going to show up?
So as
If
long as
I import that into ArcPro, those will show up, right?
so when you say that you've made everything how you want it to look, are you meaning like in the table of contents, like over here on the side?
No, I mean, actually, on the actual map, I draw a polygon and I write, what everything that's in it.
Okay.
I type in something, I maybe put a dash beside it, and then I'll draw a line, make it a certain color, or a dot, or something like that. That's what
That's
I've done on a lot of my maps. And then, of course, I haven't
Mhm.
saved as PDF, but as I want to change those and update those, I'm going to have to do that in ArcPro pretty soon. So
Yeah.
if I import my existing map, that's why I have a lot of maps. I work with different departments, and so if I
Mhm.
bring in a map from a certain department and I want to change something in the legend, I'm still going to have to import. I'm going to have to import that map into ArcPro, and then can I just do it the old way? Am I going to be able to use tools to do that, or am I going to have to use the legend tool?
So you were probably here. So in layout, let me find the right tab here.
Will that appear in the layout? If I import that map into ArcPro, that's everything that I have on that map's going to show up in the, I guess I go to view for that?
So
For the
in
layout?
here, so within the insert tab, you can add different graphics
Okay.
and or text and things. So if you needed
Right,
to
but
like,
will I be able to use those same tools to change what I have that's existing if I've imported that into ArcPro? Or I'm gonna probably we'll have to eliminate the old and start again with the legend, with what a legend I do?
It's a
Okay.
great question.
I'll
I'd
just
actually
have to
have to
try it.
see.
I'll
Like I
I'll
haven't.
just have to try it and
Because
see what I get. But I'm forcing myself to do this. I'm not very happy about it, but
yeah,
I just got to where I was comfortable with ArcMap, and
right.
feeling pretty cheeky. Okay. And now it's like, oh gosh. Okay.
Right.
Well, I'm
So
going to try. I'm going to
I
try.
do know your symbology from your map, like the one that I brought in here. So this is exactly how it looked in ArcMap. That will all come over. As far as legends and layouts, I actually have not played with that. I'm sure there's probably some way to like import a layout. Actually, I think there is.
It's in the layout view, obviously, so.
Yeah, so there may be a way to do that. That might be something that we could work on together and find out.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna try that. So I'll bring a map over and see what it looks like in the layout view.
Right, and
So
it won't hurt your old map. basically when you bring it into ArcPro and you save it, it's saving it as a different file. It's not overwriting it. So
Okay.
it should be safe. So
Okay.
yeah, that's a great question.
Lindsay, we had a couple questions in the chat. One for Jeremy. If we already have an ArcMap license, do we need to reapply for one when we apply for ArcPro, or will the existing ArcMap license run until it's shut down?
Hey, this is Jeremy. Yeah, if you want to put Pro in, it'll be a different license. And yes, your existing license should keep working. And on the day it stops, then just let me know and we can get you a new one. There's no need to replace it if it's functional.
Thanks, Jeremy. Then we had a request to go over how to add the graphics layer again.
Yeah. So this is something that I don't use all the time. So let me look at my notes. Okay. All right. On the map tab, you can add a graphics layer. So once you have that layer added, you'll have a graphics tab here at the top that you can go to. And within here, you can add different things. So text, shapes. So if I wanted to add an ellipse, I go in here and you can change, you know, what colors you want it to be. This will all be under that graphics tab. And there's a blue million ways you can manipulate that. So did that answer that question? There's other things you can do here. So if you wanted to change like transparency, that'll be in the graphics layer here, or you can type it in. 2%. So the nice thing about this is sort of how I work through. I just kind of flip through and look for what I need. And if I can't find it, or if I have this layer selected, I double click it, it's not in here, it's not, and it's tabs for that it's created once I've clicked on it. You can always just search here at the top. That's probably one of my favorite things. So something I did notice, I'm thinking off the top of my head. So if you go in here, you realize you're in your layout view, you don't have a map tab anymore, which is where you add data or from your catalog. But if you're used to going to your add data button, you can actually go up here and say, add, I want to add data, and it brings open that folder, which is really nice. So you can kind of cross over between your map and layout views. Ooh, something I did think of. Say you want to rearrange, slide this over. You realize that I clicked and it's not. Before there was like I think there was a button that you could click that was like a pan, like a hand you could like pan within the window. So now you have to right click and hit activate, which I think it's also in one of these tabs, but I usually right click to find it. And now I can move within the layout view. So now to get out of that, you can have to hit this layout. It's not my favorite. I think it's kind of weird. It's kind of like a link, but once you click that, it exits out, or I think there's another way. Under one of these tabs is here. Okay, it's under layout view. Here's activate. You can do it that way as well. And then to get out of it. So, Tim, you said that there was another question.
Yeah, we've had a few more come in now.
Okay,
I guess, Matt,
great.
did that answer your question on the graphics? Silence, I'll assume means yes, so we'll move on.
Okay.
You might have just answered this question for Mr. Grove and Union, but is there a way to pan and move things like that in ArcMap as well? And I think I'll let you answer, Lindsay.
In the layout view, is that?
I think he's asking
Okay,
if you can do the same thing in ArcMap as you can, as you just showed, but maybe I misunderstood the question.
I have to remember back. The funny thing is, now that I use Pro, I don't ever switch back to map unless I have to run the watershed tool. So I'm actually getting a little bit rusty on the things in ArcMap. There should be a way to pan within the layout in ArcMap. I think you add a toolbar at the top is one of the ways, and it will have different options. I believe one of them is like a pan option where you can pan within the window like I did, where you activate it and move. But I'd have to double check. Like I said, I am now a little bit rusty with ArcMap.
When you're in layout on ArcMap, you can double click the map frame that will activate it the same way in desktop. And then you can use the hand tool to pan the same way that you can in Pro.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. We had a request for your notes, Lindsay. If you have anything along those lines that are useful for ArcPro, if you want to share them, we can.
Yeah, I can. I can make them less chicken scratch and type them up. Yeah, I can. It's basic processes that I went through today. If you guys have tools you use a lot and you kind of want to walk through them, we can do it now or we can do it one-on-one. Like I said, you guys can get a hold of me at any time if you want, a little bit of help getting started. Honestly, the scariest part is starting. Once you get in here, honestly, especially probably for new users, this layout's going to be a lot easier to learn. I know with ArcMap, it's kind of like everything's hidden or a tiny little button that you have to know what that means to click it. And this is a little bit more intuitive, a little bit more like other applications like Word or Excel or even AutoCAD, with the ribbons. Kind of tells you what your options are based on what you have selected. So yeah, so I personally like it.
We got a few more questions here, Lindsay. One was, I've been creating layouts in ArcPro, but can't figure out how to snap to grid when I create the map frame like I would in ArcMap.
Is that here? I think that might be down here. So you have snapping options down here. So you have snap to guides. That might be what you're looking for. Let's see, yeah, is this sort of snapping to guides? I don't know if you can see those little dotted lines on the shared screen, but they're showing up on mine.
Thank you for showing me that. I did not see that button. But it's not like the grid like it was in ArcMap. It's just the snap to the layout guides.
Frame. There might be something in here. We might have to Google that one. That's one. It's so fun to hear how everyone uses this because everyone uses just slightly different things. And it's something that I have not used very often. But yeah, that's probably one of the options here. Here, let's see. Boundaries. I don't see an actual grid one, but it might exist. I would have to go and find it for you. But yeah, that's at least one option.
That works for now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lindsay, I think we got another discussion point here. Says, have you created a template file in ArcPro? I like to have most of our reference layers available when I open up a project. And I've heard that when opening a new template file, it will sometimes try to copy all the linked GIS data into the new folder. This could be an issue with the large amount of data we use. Has this been an issue for anyone?
I have not made very many templates personally. Any other users out there that have experience with that, please chime in. So basically what it is, it's I'm assuming making a new file folder each time you open a template and like copying all that data. So one option, I'm wondering if you need to uncheck this. Now this is just me thinking out loud and something I actually have no personal experience with. That might be one we need to work one-on-one with and figure out. But if you wanted to try on your own, my guess is to unselect that create file folder, or what was it? Create new folder for this project. But I'm not 100% sure that's what it would be. It's a great question. I'll have to get back to you on that one. I'm writing notes on the ones that I didn't know.
I think
Lindsay, I have a quick comment for you. One of the things I was really excited about that Lindsay had showed me under the project that I had created, where we have the map and the map 1 tabs. I actually have a north and a south, so I have various coordinate systems within one project. And for someone who works in various coordinate systems, I found that very useful.
Yes. So each map can have its own coordinate system. So this one could be state plane north and this one could be state plane south. And you can toggle between them, which is kind of handy. Especially probably for some of the NRCS users who have multiple counties. I know when I was a CET, I had one county that was in north and the rest were in south. And I had to have 2 different maps for those.
Can you show me how to draw a polygon? In, like, say I want to draw a watershed. How do you draw a polygon?
So are you meaning just as in a shape file or as in with like the draw tool?
Yeah. So if I want to make a watershed and make it its own, I'm going to call it its own name and make a shape file. How do I do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So here we'll flip to a map. Oop, we'll go to this one since that is the theme. Oop. That's another thing. It automatically, if you don't have the right things clicked, it assumes that you're trying to like find the information of a layer. So that's what that pop-up is. Neat. Okay, so we would go to our edit tab. If you don't have the edit function to where you have to turn it on and off, this won't exist. But for me, I have to turn it on. You go to create, where you create feature. And for sake of time, since I didn't create a new file, actually, we've got plenty of time. We'll do the full thing. So I need a new shapefile, right? So I go into my catalog, right click. We are going to new shapefile. So in here, we're gonna give it, so anything that's got the red asterisk is something that it requires. So this is the file folder, the location. So I have it in the data. I'm gonna keep that the same. So we're gonna give it a name. We'll call it watershed. And since it's a watershed, we're gonna keep it a polygon. But if you're doing other things, you have your other options, your polylines, your points, but we're gonna say a polygon. The rest of this, I'm gonna keep the same. You can select the coordinate system. It's always a good idea. I usually just click current map, which I did not update that to a state plane. But, and then you'd run, and this is going to make a new folder, or sorry, a new file. So you should be able to see it here. Here we see watershed, and it has also added it over here in my table of contents. So now I can go ahead and hit create features, and it should show up there. You can click on that. And this is going to give you all your options to manipulate that watershed. So for here, we're going to click on that. It's polygon. I'll say, and you can start. And then you just, I just double clicked to finish editing. So now down here, say, oh, I want to add another point. Here's it going to do it the right thing. Oh, so I'm going to save that. Sorry, I'm like clicking around like crazy. Modify feature. Here's also a snapping. I know that's not the right thing you were looking for, but here's a snapping option for whoever had asked that question. You can do edit. So in modify features, we have edit vertices. So that popped up over here when I hit modify. Pretty much everything pops up on the right in these tabs. And so if I want to add, you can click on the line, click and drag. You want to delete one, click it. When you're done, you hit the check mark. If you didn't want those changes, you hit the X. Now, none of this is permanent until you hit the save button, or if you didn't want it, you discard it. But so you can save that. That's actually a great question. I guess a lot of people do need to create shape files within ArcPro. But anything regarding changing, moving, those are all going to be, you know, these are kind of like shortcuts to all your shapefile manipulating or editing features there. I guess opening attributes is another thing. So right click, you can hit attribute table just like you did before, but you can also hit it up here. And once you have it selected in your table of contents, it should be under a data tab. You can hit attribute table there too, and it should open it. Obviously, I don't have any data in there because I just created that. So. Anything else related to shapefile creation or other questions?
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
We had a couple more questions in the chat. Mr. Keller asked about specs for computers running ArcPro. I did post a link in the chat there for Esri's minimal man recommended spec for a computer, but just in general, you'll want a computer that's got some fairly beefy specs on it, things like dedicated video processing card, CPU with multiple cores, capable of multi-threading, minimum of 32 gigabytes of RAM. But you can click on the link and see what they're recommending there and get an idea of what you should be looking for. And we had a request to go over again how to import an existing map from ArcMap into ArcPro.
Yeah. So that will be on your insert tab. There's going to be import map. And from there, you would go and find wherever file location you had it. You'd select it and say OK, and it should bring it right in. I'm kind of curious. I don't have, when I started this job, I automatically forced myself to go to Pro. So I didn't really have a lot of layouts already created to have an example of importing a layout, which I know we kind of had a question on. that might be something to experiment here in the future.
I might be wrong, but I do believe that ArcMap saved its layout files in a different format than Pro. So I didn't spend a whole bunch of time on it, but I didn't think that you could import layout files from desktop to Pro. If
Okay.
someone has done that successfully, please say so.
Might be something to look into. I'll make a note for that.
And then just my plug for the wonderful public libraries we have here in the state, depending on your district's access to training and funds. All of the 3C library systems do have access to the LinkedIn Learning platform, which you can get access to with your library card. They have a great ArcGIS Pro Essential Training course on there that I've used, and it's great to go back and reference. They also have some CAD courses on there if that interests you. You do have to have a library card for that, but again, in Ohio, if you're an Ohio resident, you can get a library card from any of the libraries in the state. So if you have limited resources and training capabilities, I'd highly recommend checking that out.
And there's a lot of free stuff through Esri too. You know, if you kind of just Google your question, they have a lot of blogs and things that you can read that kind of give you step by step on what you're trying to do. There's also a lot of videos out there as well. But you can also contact me anytime. Is there another question?
Looks like we've got everything covered in the chat so far.
Okay.
Any last questions from anybody? Chat, or feel free to unmute your microphone.
How long will we have access to map before they switch over?
So it's going to exist for a while, and I can't remember the exact dates, but they are going to stop providing any updates for it. So as computers do their updates and advances, it may not become compatible, may cause some glitches within map. So that's kind of why there's the push to go to Pro. I know that's not a real helpful. I don't have the dates in front of me. Tim, do you remember off the top of your head? I want to say
Not
it's
exactly, but 25, 26 time frame. But I think maybe the bigger driver for some, and Jeremy, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but those that are operating off an NRCS license, NRCS is going to drop that license sooner, maybe even here in 24. I don't know if, Jeremy, if you have any insight on that.
I don't have any specific insight. I know those dates constantly change. I mean, we've heard rumors of ArcMap's death for several years now, and it's still hanging on by a thread. So I don't want to throw any specific dates out because I know nobody knows. There's kind of a back channel effort to get a version of the watershed tool that's either on Pro or else web-based, something like that. So I mean, I think once that comes, finally, emerges, then the need to have ArcMap will drop precipitously for most people.
Right.
Amy Moore mentioned in the chat that she had to go to Pro because there was a missing file for ArcMap and couldn't update it. I don't know if anybody has any insight on that.
So this is Jeremy again. If any of you are actually working on like the NRCS owned computers, and I know some of you are, we've had tons of issues with map, and it's got to do with our internal USDA network issues, and we've had it just stop working, and there's no fix. So and I don't, like I said, I'm not a network guy, so I don't know what you can do about it. So if you've got one functional, I mean, I wouldn't update it. I would just leave it where it is. And there's no, because it's a dying software. So I mean, no one's supporting it. Esri doesn't want to support it. the IT side of USDA wants to get rid of it. So there's no great solution. I see the question about a sheet about installing ArcPro. I mean, that's in that document that I sent out, the process for how to get the software and all that. If you're on, Megan, if you're on a USDA machine, there's a separate process because it's run through the IT side versus the districts that are operating their own machines. Because our USDA network's very tightly controlled centrally, so you have to work through Software Center and all that. So if you guys have, if you have questions, I mean, about that, you can talk to me offline, because I mean, I think that's the minority of people who are running on NRCS machines. But yeah, there's I'm not even allowed to look at that stuff. So. Oh, and I see the question about files stored on a network drive. That's another problem that we've had, mostly on the NRCS side, is because of the USDA networks, ArcPro does not play nice with network resources or things that are located in the cloud. And so I advise people to put stuff on your C drive if you can, if you got the space. If not, invest in a portable hard drive to keep the bigger bulk data like aerials, because it'll just crap out on you when you're trying to use those remote resources. And be careful when you're making folders on your C drive that you don't put it in the documents or the home folder or something like that, because those aren't really on the C drive on the NRCS machines. They actually are in your mobile roaming profile. So you want to make a separate folder on the C drive that's just for GIS stuff.
Jordan, to your question on the engineering toolbox, the toolboxes that we've been using with ArcMap should continue to work so long as we've got ArcMap. We're still looking at some different options on what we're going to do for ArcPro and getting a engineering toolbox or a similar tool working there. Once we have something figured out, I think we'll plan to probably do another webinar and work through that and show what we're doing with that. But if you're having problems with the toolbox on ArcMap right now, you can reach out to me directly. We can work through it.
Sometimes in cases like that, you just don't have the spatial analyst extension enabled. So I mean, the older ArcMap licenses tended to have all the extensions. So you have to look in your settings and make sure it's turned on, because none of those watershed tools will work without spatial analyst.
Which I can walk you through that if you need help with that. Just reach out.
Hey everyone, last questions for today? Hearing none, I think we'll call it a wrap then. Appreciate everybody joining on, especially appreciate the help from Jeremy and Lindsay on putting this on and going through everything for us. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we did record this and we'll get it posted up to our YouTube page here within a week or so. And I'll get the documents on how to get licensing that Jeremy has shared out to everybody as well. So if you have any other questions, you can feel free to reach out to me or Lindsay directly. We'll be happy to help. But with that, I think we'll wrap it up for today. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.